Yeah, copyright free music. Trying to make some ad revenue on this one, geezers. I think I might be in the minority, but I actually quite liked the Mr McMahon series. However, with a life as crazy as Vince's, even a 6-part documentary won't cover all of it. So now I've had some time to reflect since the documentary's come out. Here are some of the things they missed out on the series which I think they should have included. Some of these things they might have lightly touched on, but I think they should have gone into in a bit more detail. Anyway, here are the top 11 things left out of the Mr McMahon documentary series. One better than 10. Number 11. The Cape Cod Buccaneers. While the series did touch on some of Vince's failed business ventures, one early one that they left out entirely was the Cape Cod Buccaneers. This was a hockey team that Vince McMahon formed in 1982 because he owned the Cape Cod Coliseum, which he needed to fill, and there was a new Atlantic Coast Hockey League forming, so why not? Well, partway through the season, he'd find out, as the Cape Cod Buccaneers became the 4th team in the league to fold. Shortly after, the league would follow suit itself and fold as well. Vince would end up selling the Cape Cod Coliseum, which would then be used as a warehouse. See, Vince, that's what you could have done all along. And you could have used it to store number 10, ICOPRO. ICOPRO, another one of Vince's failed business ventures. While an ICOPRO shirt is featured in the series, they didn't really cover Vince's failed supplement line. This was a product Vince launched to coincide with the WBF, and they both befell the same fate. Who's feeding their kid ICOPRO? Get them on some fight milk, geezer. Number 9. Heel Vince in USWA. When Eric Bischoff pops up on screen, you usually know bullshit is about to follow. And in this documentary series, when he pops up, he said that he played the evil boss character before Vince. And you know what? I used to think that was true. However, years before Eric Bischoff would be on screen playing the heel boss in WCW, Vince McMahon would be doing the same thing in Jerry Lawler's Memphis territory, the USWA. This was part of a whole invasion angle between the WWF and the USWA, which involved geezers like Papa Shango, Randy Savage and Bret and Owen Hart. While watching the Mr McMahon series, I was waiting for someone to bring this up, but no, got left out completely. You see, Netflix, this is one of the reasons you need to interview Jim Cornette. This is the history you're missing. Ultimately, this USWA invasion angle did end prematurely, due to Jerry Lawler getting indicted on some unmonetizable charges, so I can understand why Vince maybe doesn't want to bring it up in this documentary series. Oh yeah, speaking of, number 8, Jerry Lawler's 1993 allegations. While the series spent quite a bit of time on the 1992 Ring Boy scandal, they didn't get into Jerry Lawler's indictment regarding allegations over certain activities with underage girls. While Lawler was acquitted, questions remain regarding these charges to this day, and he was suspected of witness tampering. Despite this, Vince would not only hire him back, seemingly as soon as he could, him and Lawler would make jokes about this on TV. Now why not put this in the documentary, Netflix? If you're going to go into the molestation, why not go fully in? Pun definitely not intended. Number 7. WWE's Saudi Arabia deal. Following the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, most companies cut ties with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but not WWE. In fact, they went the opposite way and might soon be expanding that deal. This does not paint the WWE or Vince in the best light, and I think it'd be something worth going into in the documentary. To be fair, Netflix also isn't one of those companies who cut ties with Saudi. In fact, it censors stuff that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia doesn't like, so yeah, they're probably not going to go there. Anyway, moving on. Number 6, the Connan Interview. They did cover a few of Vince's TV interviews, however one they didn't get to was his 1999 appearance on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. Right at the height of the Attitude Era and when Gen Z was at peak edginess, somehow Vince still manages to take it too far and shock the crowd into silence. This happened when he joked about Ted Turner taking lithium all day. This was of course referencing Ted Turner's battle with mental health. In the Mr McMahon series, Vince expressed regret for joking about this in their Billionaire Ted sketches, and I think it would be nice to punctuate that moment by playing a clip from this Connan interview. Maybe it was a rights issue, I don't know. Number 5, the 2005 Royal Rumble. If you want perhaps the best distillation of Vince's tenacity, aggression and batshit craziness, it's the 2005 Royal Rumble. While they played a short clip of this in the Mr McMahon series, they could have taken a few minutes out to explain just what happened, as after a botched finish to that year's Royal Rumble match, Vince stormed to the ring and tore both quads, and not only continued berating John Cena and Batista, but also insisted he didn't need help when trying to walk to the back. What a madman, what a madman. Surely you gotta put this in a documentary, it says more about Vince than any interview could. Number 4, Black Saturday. You can't fully recount the life and career of Vince McMahon without taking some time out to cover Black Saturday. This fateful day in wrestling took place in 1984 when Vince McMahon bought the long-standing time slot belonging to Georgia Championship Wrestling right out from under their noses. While the Mr McMahon documentary series highlighted the fact that Vince stole a lot of the territory's talent, what perhaps was more savage was the fact that he also stole those various promotions' TV time slots. And these kind of tactics wouldn't stop there. Number 3, the Starrcade Ultimatum. While WrestleMania is one of Vince's greatest achievements, maybe his greatest, like with most achievements in Vince's life and career, shithousery would be involved somehow. Because WWE's second annual pay-per-view Survivor Series was invented simply to draw viewers away from the rival NWA's pay-per-view Starrcade, as it took part on the same night. To really stick the boot into their competition, Vince went to various pay-per-view providers who were set to carry Starrcade and said, if you air that, you can't have WrestleMania 4. A further example of how ruthless of a businessman that Vince was. So yeah, could have mentioned that in a documentary. Again, get Cornette, get Cornette. Number 2, the Melanie Pilman interview. So one of your employees has just died the night before. We know you're not going to stop the show, not going to do that. So, shouldn't we send some condolences to the family? I know, let's interview his wife live on air. I think sending a card would have been better. But no, not Vince. And to make things worse, during this interview, Vince seemed determined to try to get Melanie to cry. This was uncomfortable and unnecessary. I mean, just why? What was this achieving? What match was this getting me hyped up for? What was the point in it? Number 1, Jimmy Snuka cover-up allegations. In the Vince documentary, they posited Vince a lot of tough questions, but one I'm sure a lot of geezers wanted them to ask was, did you try to stop Nancy Argentino from pressing charges against Jimmy Snuka in 1982? Because despite police reports taken on the night of Jimmy Snuka abusing Nancy, she would later state that Jimmy Snuka never struck her or harmed her in any way. This has led to allegations that Vince McMahon might have got involved in some way, paying her off or paying off the family. To add further fuel to the fire, in Snuka's 2013 ghostwritten autobiography, he talks about not knowing if Vince paid off Nancy's family. Tragically, Nancy would pass away due to traumatic brain injuries not long after the alleged attack. Over 3 decades later, when Jimmy Snuka was finally tried for her murder, he was ultimately declared unfit to stand trial. And despite these allegations, he would be given a glowing tribute on Raw. Netflix, you gotta bring this up, you gotta bring it up. I don't know what kind of answer you would have got from Vince, but you gotta do it. I mean, you're probably not gonna get to interview him again, so Netflix, you had your chance. Anyway, that was my top 11 things that were left out of the Mr McMahon series. Let me know what else you think they should have included. Anyway, see you later.